Chapter 7 Siberian Dacha. A cat has absolute emotional honesty. Human beings, for one reason or another, may hide their feelings, but a cat does not. Ernest Hemingway. Carl had a hunted expression now aimed at the twilight sky, eyes wide, hairs prickling across his body. They were coming. The question was, were they here for the kid or the trollop he brought with him? It would depend which was the real hooligan unless they were both off in the weeds. He could help one. Whatever the case, he had to act immediately. "Don't move!" Carl howled, and began running up the path toward them at a solid clip. One a lot faster than he might have expected of a person in his apparent stage of life. He was only about 100 feet away, maybe less. It was as though Carl had barely gone through that cave of his. It was as though Carl had barely gone through that cave of his into this place, but a few steps ahead of Ethan and Chloe. Yet they had been in the house a while, and it was empty. Had Carl been in the basement, hearing their footfalls? Was he rolling his eyes as Chloe cried, "Doofus!" when Ethan applied hydrogen peroxide? Carl had Slinky on a cat harness, and when he began to run toward Ethan and Chloe, the cat resisted, so he pulled her up and stuffed her inside his jacket. This apparently did not impress the cat, as said jacket began to writhe around like it were boiling, and astonishing sounds echoed up the hill. Chloe sounded suddenly and inexplicably hysterical. "How about you don't move, you old murderer?" "Whoa," Ethan whoaed. "Stay where you are!" Definitely the trollop, Carl thought. "Like hell!" Chloe sprinted off the path straight down the hill toward the sea. Ethan was an instant behind her, and that might have saved everybody. Obviously, she was more interesting to him than old Carl, and he ought not to have hesitated. But she was acting crazy. And the first time a man sees a lady pull the lid off her insanity bucket, it shocks him a bit. Poor men. They believe the makeup, but there's always a real face under all that rouge. As Chloe stumbled full tilt down the lush twilit hillside, almost immediately a long and cylindrical massive object seemed to just appear. It wasn't exactly a cylinder. It was slightly ovoid, as though a spiral had been enclosed in a cylinder, conformed to match its uneven curves. When it came, it looked as though it were sucked in from a distant point, some infinitesimal intersection far out over the ocean. It was a speck of black like dust, but came unrealistically fast and without any sort of deviation from its straight course, right for Chloe. There was a deep bass noise like a trumpet of doom. It shook the hill, and in an instant the object hovered above Chloe. It kicked up a wind that knocked Ethan back, simultaneously making the whole hillside a shade darker under its shadow. A verdant green neon beam of blinding light sucked Chloe up in the air, and she shrieked like the devil. Ethan saw no more. Carl grabbed him by the hair, yanking his gaze to the hillside, even as the older man bellowed, "Come on!" Ethan obliged. All he could see at the moment were spots anyway, and he was dazed. But his mind was catching up. Soul singer Rick James once said, "Cocaine's a hell of a drug." Perhaps he's right, but it doesn't hold a candle to full-fledged trouser-browning panic. Carl was pulling Ethan along, but Ethan now managed to shake off the daze as the panic hit, and abruptly he began to pull Carl along. If Ethan had any physical talents, retreat was certainly one of them. Then they were out from beneath the shadow, but only for the briefest of instants. The darkness was very quick, approaching them again. Ethan heard a tremulous, unbearably loud, buzzing noise, and Carl wrenched him over the edge of a high cliff into a ravine before the base dropped. They were airborne. Carl yanked the cat from his jacket. Slinky came out making seizure moves and staccato hissing noises like cymbals on a snare drum. Ethan offered his own incoherent panic sounds as counterpart, but Carl kept his head, wrapped the cat's leash around his arm, and with his right arm chucked Slinky full speed toward a flat plain of rock at the bottom of the ravine. He hurled the cat in such a way the animal on its leash actually pulled him ahead of Ethan as they plummeted. Ethan was all arms and legs, tumbling like a rag doll. A cavern seemed to spin out of the rock like it had always been there. It was the corner of a Rubik's Cube, and the hand of God just turned a square. They tumbled through the cavern into a flat metallic floor, and were suddenly sliding through an empty, sterile room, backlit from behind, where a doorway made an angle to another realm. They had not fallen down onto the mirrored metal place. They had come through horizontally, the final effect being that they drifted quick. Instead of falling 100 feet straight onto the ground, they gathered that momentum and dropped but a few feet, gliding uncomfortably into an angled metallic obstacle that was the far wall of that basement. Ethan had the wind knocked out of him. Carl knew what was coming and was somehow already on his feet. No time to catch breath. Fast, fast, fast. And he hauled Ethan up. Now, Carl had the unhappy cat under his left arm. How'd she become cat-shaped? How did she not become cat-shaped lasagna on the rock? Why was there suddenly a hole there, a cavern, a portal of some sort? What just happened? Whatever it was, Slinky did not like being held in this manner and squirmed in demonstration. Ethan was having trouble making sense of any of it. One moment he was on the side of a hill leading to an ocean, hair thick as his head, a floral perfume seeming to bear the twilight. The next, some cylindrical spiral thing out of a Dune movie sucked up the only girl that put eyes on him in 6 months, and he fell 100 feet into a portal. Now he was... Well, Jeff, what was this place? As fast as he could, Carl pulled Ethan along behind and up featureless metal stairs in a wide spiral that turned around empty space. Before Ethan could digest this, they came to a landing with a rail that opened into some musty old log cabin out of the 1900s. It was curvy and had many rooms, but Ethan couldn't really take any of this in as Carl was pulling him along at quite a clip. Fast, 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 Carl repeated, whisking Ethan through the cabin, past its front door, and into an empty yard surrounded by thick trees. It looked as though dawn had recently broken. There were no other buildings anywhere. Across the yard was a ribbon that was orange. It was tied around the trunk of a slim and tall tree. Carl ran as fast as he could, leading them just past this ribbon with the cat yet gripped firmly under his left arm. Finally, he stopped, put the cat down, and leaned over his knees, hyperventilating. Ethan did the same, catching his breath enough to say, "This ain't it, Chief." "You are fired as my lodger," Carl replied. "You break the lease." "I thought you might be dead." "I am clearly not dead." "Well, no cap, fam." Ethan spit and wiped his mouth. "Listen, we gotta go back to that other planet or whatever and get her." "No, we do not. And no, we will not. And no, it is not some other planet." "You old coward! What the hell just happened? What did you do to her? What did you do to her?" Carl looked at Ethan as though he were feeble-minded and stank. "I am here. You are here. She is there with them. Did you not see?" The old man stood and leaned over Ethan. Ethan pushed into Carl's chest with as much force as he could muster. This did nothing to move Carl. It only ended up knocking Ethan the opposite direction, but for the time being the young man was confused enough to ignore how poorly the tactic had performed. He followed through on remaining emotional inertia. "Didn't you see Carl? They took her!" "If you had not broke lease, that wouldn't be no problem." "She did it, man. She got curious and... Well, hell, Carl, I wanted to get some." "Look at that. Now you are become all men in all eras, making all mistakes." "We gotta rescue her, man. Then I'll be gone. You'll never see me again." "What the hell, man? Ain't you a man? Ain't you some boomer old fart? Don't you know what you're supposed to do with women?" "You do not understand, Ethan." This is the first time Carl had ever used Ethan's name. "What don't I understand? What don't I know? Huh? What is it?" "You don't understand many things." "Fam, this is not bussin'." "Ethan, she was not here for you. She was here for me. She is some prostitute or temptress. A pot of honey, I believe is the term." Ethan blinked at Carl and made motions with his mouth that went nowhere, finally managing to say, "How dare you? How dare? Come on, man. What a bunch of malarkey. I met her in a casino. She started hitting on me." "Even you do not feel the truth of this, or you would not talk like the commandeering thief. I have made pun. What woman advances on a man? Commandeer? Biden? Get out of my face. Listen, some girls hit on guys, okay? What is this?" Ethan made spastic gestures with his hands indicating their surroundings and leaning back against a tree trunk until he sank to the forest floor and its fern-pierced blanket of pine needles. His eyes looked trapped in his head, going every direction trying to find a way out. We gotta go back! We gotta get her, man! What the hell happened? What was that thing? What was that place? Where the hell are we now? Slinky made a loud noise abruptly and vomited where she stood. Unable to get away from the leash Carl held, she paused, made one more unhappy sound, then came to rest on one of Carl's shoes. Carl looked up and at Ethan. Okay, we can go back to the Dacha now. The door is closed. Which door? What? You are no longer my lodger. We will stay the night here, and I will take you home, and you will go. What about the girl, man? We gotta go back now. She will be fine. To her, not even a second has passed since they sucked her in. What? Fine for now. Fine for a long time. Follow me. And Carl went into the circular cabin that sat alone in the woods. What? Ethan repeated. It was becoming a favorite word of his, followed by, what? Why? Why should I trust you? How did you get here? Carl replied over his shoulder. On his way to the kitchen at the center of the cabin, he pulled a weight down on a gravity lamp to light up the foyer, then continued on his way to a set of cabinets behind a central stove, where he immediately retrieved a can of wet cat food for Slinky. It took Ethan a minute to make up his mind, then he followed into the circular building and closed the door behind. The dacha was larger than the house and trail. It had half a dozen rooms, one in the center and 5 stretching around in a circular pattern. But it was not a true circle. There was some strange spiral quality to the space. It had been remodeled to inhibit emphasis on this, but the impression was still there. Each room had doors leading to spaces immediately adjacent. You could have run through the whole building in a circuit without pause, though it wasn't exactly even. At the head of the circuit, which was the foyer, the exiting door was closed to the circular central room. Meanwhile, the entry to the spiral arc through the house was closer to the external wall, a small spiral. The foyer was accordingly a living room. It had a few chairs with upholstery out of the time of the czars. They were salmon-colored. Half-filled bookshelves and very generic pictures were against all walls where there were no doors or doorways. It was as though someone used a large and slightly deformed yurt as a model, or a huge cinnamon bun. Whatever the template, it was like they built a wooden cabin around that frame. There was definitely a sense that the structure had a different original purpose than the one it now occupied. Each room had a window in the middle of the wall. All had access to the central kitchen. There was a stove with a pipe in the center and 5 skylights spaced equilaterally around the roof that sloped in declining circumference from the stove's exhaust. The stairs they had come up also opened out into this kitchen area near the center of the room and delineated from the space with a square of railing missing one side where the stairs came to the main level. A kitchen island stretched in a half circle around the wood stove. The stairs were back of the stove. The kitchen island had bare stools and appeared to be where the home's residents were intended to eat. The table was chest high and topped in thick green polished stone. There were a few pictures on the walls in this central room as well, but the cabin looked as though it were used infrequently. It had about as much character as a hotel room except for the circular architecture and what Ethan already knew of that basement. In front of a set of cabins on one wall of the central room, Carl was just standing from the cat food he had provided Slinky, and she was happily digging in. He walked to a cabinet in the center island, opened it out, and dropped the lid in a hidden refuse bin. Ethan dazedly came to a seat at the island table. Carl exhaled, leaning forward with both hands on the green marble of the central island. He looked down, then he looked up, and then he met Ethan's eyes and said, "Tell me why I should not kill you." Ethan had trouble reacting. That escalated. No one knows you live in Trail. None would miss you. Killing is bad? Because murder is wrong? So you believe in right and wrong? Yeah. Carl nodded. So you understand there is good and there is evil. Yeah, and you know what's evil? Leaving an innocent woman to die with Martians and kidnapping people and being a serial killer. Yes, those are all bad things. So why'd you kill your parents? Boom! Not boomy enough. Carl slammed his hand on the counter with astonishing force. Enough Ethan flinched right off the stool. Carl collected himself and said, dangerously, "You do not know what you say." "So you know something I don't. Fair, fam, I get it." "My family is of no concern to you." Neither man spoke for several seconds. Ethan finally found enough courage to say, Well, why not use whatever you know, or your power, or whatever, to save the girl, right?" Carl shook his head. "Slinky will not allow it." What? The cat? The hell does the cat have to do with it?" "She is angry at me right now because I forced her." Ethan looked at the cat. She was inhaling goopy brown sludge from a can quite contentedly. "She doesn't look mad." "She will hold a grudge until the morning. You will feel the fatigue coming soon. We must recharge. You will sleep twice as long as you would sleep if things were not as they are. The cat is tired too, and angry. So, until the morning, grudge will stay. I have never seen her hold the grudge shorter." What? "I forced her. She does not like to be forced. No cat does." "What?" "I forced her to shift." Ethan blinked. You're saying the cat, that cat, you're saying, is this why she keeps showing up in my room? The cat can, like, walk through infrastructure." "Magnets, gravity, attraction, momentum, electricity, ruts, cracks in the floor, holes in a tapestry, holes in a garment. You understand? The world is the floor. It is the tapestry, the garment. There are tiny cracks, little holes, but they are one way, and they are not in all places, just some places. There is an energy. The cat resonates with this energy. The cat does not understand how. I do not fully understand how. Perhaps I know how it started. I have never known how it works. I know there is only one direction. Once the cat goes through. Even so, there are many places the trajectory can end. Many places the cat can leave. In one way, out another. Okay, so let's go back in and find Chloe. There is a time change. They will be watching. That is why we ran after we come through. They are slow there, but not frozen. We had to get out of the circle quick. Within 17 meters, or about 50 feet, the resonance of the cat keeps the door open. The resonance can last longer or shorter, but if we stop moving, she gets the idea. When the resonance breaks, Slinky will barf. Until then, other things may come through. That is how you and the woman come through. Ethan put his face in his hands and replied, Fine. Fine. But man, what do you think they're doing to her, man? Like, what if that were you in there? If it were me, I would have been in their spiral tube less than a single second from our exit. Much less. What? I said already, there is a time change. A second in that place is like 12 minutes here. A day here will be 2 minutes there. On our side is time. But there is no need. She has brought this on herself. What do you mean? Did they come for you? What? Did they come for you? Like, did I get sucked up into a Martian ship? I don't think they came from me, Carl. No cap. You said you believe in right and you believe in wrong, in good and evil. I mean, it's your truth, my truth, whatever. No. There is good and there is bad. What is good and bad? Come on, man. It can't be good to leave a damsel in distress, right? I do not know, always. Well, then how do you know now? How do you know when a computer is not working? Ethan's eyebrows were making wrinkles on his forehead. Like when it glitches? Yes. Because it's not performing the function it's supposed to. Like it's lagging or... Aren't you saying that place is lagging? What is that place? It is a world between worlds. It is like a software as a service desktop with many users on an internet cloud. It is like a notepad to copy and paste things for use later. It is like a warehouse for sets to shoot movies in. But the sets are not in use right now. It is like that. This caused Ethan's face to go blank. How you know so much about computers, fam? Aren't you like 1 billion years old? A glitch will be seen by algorithmic components of computer programming designed to maintain functionality. Carl had to think carefully about these words, but he pronounced them almost perfectly. So evil draws kin of the fallen. The girl, she drew them. I am surprised you did not, and glad to see, but I am no programmer. I know the software has been designed. I can use some of the software. I cannot write the software. Carl, she's not bad. She's a woman. Like, they're all... Have you ever been with a girl before? You know, they're all like... Women are cutthroat, man. Yes, but they have taken her for the brokenness, for the glitch, for her glitch. The world of the glitch attracts and consumes the same. I cannot tell you why exactly. Why she draw them today. I can tell you she used you to get to me, and that means she is not alone, and there is a real chance others will come for her. Pause. A glitch in what? What kind of glitch are you talking about? I should not kill you, because that would be wrong. That would be broken behavior. Glitchy, you could say. If you rush after her when you are broken, you will simply be taken. As she is, I will not. That's not my question, but you're not broken. You've transcended the human condition. I have the antivirus, Carl replied matter-of-factly. Well, give me the software for that antivirus. Let's get her and let's unglitch her. Now there was electricity in Carl's eye. Perhaps I will. But we must return to trail. For you will need time to think and come to your own peace. And you will not be able to do that here, as you cannot leave this dacha. I must also return soon, so this is the next move. What, so you're not going to kick me out now? Ethan, I will do what is right. And you have forced my hand. Ethan changed the subject. What's Dacha mean anyhow? Summer home. Why can't I leave now and think about this antivirus software of yours? Because I will not let you. Why won't you let me? Do you want to be in Siberian jail? Ethan stood from the table, went and looked out the window in the foyer, then came back to the kitchen. You're saying we were in Russia? I don't believe it. Believe it. Test me if you like. But I cannot protect you if you leave. It would be wrong for me to do that to you, for you do not know what happens, and your own actions will necessarily lead to your hurt. So really, do not test me. If you try to leave, I will restrain you. Ethan stared at him for a full minute, and they were silent. Eventually he said, "You sure the cat can't reset faster?" "If she does, I will tell you. I have never seen it in less than a day." Carl crouched down and scratched the cat behind the ears. She was almost done with the wet cat food. She made a growling noise. "She is not reset yet. There, the door to your left. There is bed. You will sleep there. It connects to restroom. Use if you must." "I guess we really are in Russia. Seems like it's morning all over again. That's the time change. We will be very tired very soon. In sleep, the cat will forget. In the meantime, there are books. If the sloth does not come for you soon." Carl picked one up for emphasis and made his way to another room in the dacha. Ethan was still an instant and was about to grab one of the books Carl mentioned when the older man entered the room again. "Stay out of the basement. Do not break this rule as you did the lease, yes?" "I didn't break the lease. The girl got curious and she's hot." "Stay out of the basement." And Carl returned to the other room. Ethan looked at the metal stairs stretching into darkness and shook his head. "Not gonna have any trouble from me on that, my guy.